What's good, y'all? It's your boy Sean Peter Blunt God. Hey! And we're back with another reaction, another One Piece reaction at that. Let me correct myself. But today, or in fact, yesterday, I seen a video. I said I had to talk about it, right? Because it's talking about my favorite admiral. You know, my favorite Admiral Kizaru. I seen my favorite Admiral Kizaru, and I said we have to react to this because Threevil is going to tell us why Kizaru is going to show up at Egghead Island. Now, before we get into that, make sure you guys hit that like button. Also, subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Comment down below. Let me know who's your favorite admiral. Let me know who's your favorite admiral. And also, let me know what you think of the video, what you think of my reaction, or, just what you think about the admirals in general, right? Also, make sure you follow me on Twitch so you could catch me live stream in real time, and you can also engage with me in real time. Make sure you follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook. And don't forget to join the community. Come be a part of the Discord. Come be a part of my community. Interact with me. You could submit One Piece videos that you would like me to see me react to. You can submit it to me through the Discord. But yeah, let's talk about it, right? So, Kizaru, right? The title of today's video is Kizaru will show up on Egghead Island and destroy everyone with this. Now, why would Kizaru show up on Egghead Island, right? I don't know, but I believe that it's one reason why I believe that it is possible that he can show up on Egghead Island. I don't know if I necessarily believe this is when he shows up and make his impact. But one thing that could lead me to believe that he could show up on Egghead Island is his connection to Vegapunk, right? Like, from what we've seen, it's been hinted that Vegapunk and Kizaru work somewhat closely, right? We know that the first pacifista, the ones modeled after Kuma, they were led in a sense, like they were led by I want to say his name is Shooting Morrow or something like that. I can't remember his name. I can't remember the character's name. Cause I think Shooting Morrow is Ashura Doja's name, but it's something like that. He's like the big dude who was like one of the first people we actually see use hockey. And I think he used hockey against Luffy at one point. And he led the Pacifista, and we know that he's connected with Kizaru because supposedly that's Kizaru's nephew. You know, he calls Kizaru his uncle, and I think Kizaru was saying he was looking for his nephew. So I can't remember. But Shoomaru, like he leads, supposedly Kizaru is his uncle, and he also leads the Pacifista, right? Also, we seen the Pacifista, they used the light ability that was said to have been, I guess, taken from Kizaru for somehow. Like, somehow Kizaru's light ability was integrated in the Pacifista. So it just kind of shows that Kizaru has worked with Vegapunk in some aspect, to some degree. Like we never seen the Pacifista use like Aokiji or Akainu's abilities, but we seen them use the light abilities. Now I've always said that light abilities, like laser abilities specifically, right? Kind of what we seen from the Pacifista. Lasers can be created. It can be recreated. I would say a lot more easy than something like magma or ice. Ice you could use like ice. You could I guess you could recreate ice through technology as well. Like you could create like freeze beams. At least in fiction. At least in fiction. I haven't really seen nothing like that in real life other than like freezers. But but yeah, so but they've used light abilities, the Pacifista. you know, and it's been kind of implied that it's based off of Kizaru's light abilities. So it just kind of lead me believe that Vegapunk and Kizaru has have somewhat of a working relationship. So if I don't believe it's a stretch to say we could see Kizaru show up at Egghead Island. Like, let's say if somebody if Vegapunk, him or herself, doesn't call the Marines and let them know that the Straw Hats are on the island, maybe somebody else letting them know, right? Because we also know that there's a Marine base near Egghead Island as well. So somebody else could snitch to Navy HQ and say, hey, the Straw Hats are here. And then Kizaru, especially being closely linked with Vegapunk, potentially, right? He could show it. He could decide to show up, you know. So I don't think it's a stretch right now. Will he show up? I don't know. You know, that's not what I'm saying. Maybe Threevil, you know, maybe he gives us, he could put it in more of a perspective. So yeah. But yeah, let's get into it. I definitely wanted to react to this video because Kizaru is my favorite admiral, my favorite Marine. You know, like him and Garp are my favorite Marines, and I would probably say Kizaru is my favorite of the Marines, and Garp is like my second favorite. Hey, judge me if y'all want, but Kizaru is like my favorite character. I love his nonchalant attitude while he just curb stomp people. I personally believe he's a lot more powerful than people give him credit for. You know, it's just his lazy demeanor that makes him seem, that nerfs him, I guess. You know, like people say he was afraid of Ben Beckman. I don't believe that. I don't believe he was afraid of Ben Beckman. Because how he reacted to Ben Beckman was the same way he reacted to the supernova before he pretty much, you know, stomped them all to the ground, right? He was just like, oh, Ben Beckman. And then right after that, he continued what he was doing. So Ben Beckman's presence really didn't do much. Like, as much as people love to use that against Kizaru, like, oh, he stopped Kizaru from, you know, he stopped Kizaru and Kizaru was afraid. Reality, what happened was Ben Beckman showed up. Kizaru was like, oh, Ben Beckman, and then Kizaru kept doing what he kept pursuing Luffy like he was already doing. So Ben Beckman actually failed to stop Kizaru because Kizaru actually continued doing what he did. So is that really like a knock against Kizaru? I don't see it. You know what I'm saying? He was the only one that went up against he was the only admiral that went against Whitebeard unfazed. Like, he was toying with Whitebeard, toying with a Yonko, the world's strongest man. He was toying with, and Whitebeard couldn't do anything. We seen what Whitebeard did with Akainu, and we seen Aokiji clash with Whitebeard to some degree, and I don't think Aokiji was hurt that bad either, but he was at least able to, I would say, keep Aokiji at bay to a degree, right? Whitebeard did a lot better with Aokiji than he did with Kizaru. Kizaru was straight toying with Whitebeard, you know. Even though I would say Kizaru is just a worse matchup for somebody like Whitebeard, because Whitebeard is old, he's slower, right? Kizaru is much faster, you know, being light and being able to move a lot faster. So his speed is probably going to be a bad matchup for somebody like Whitebeard, you know. But yeah, anyway, let's get into this video. Let's not waste any more time. Let's go.
Terrifying admiral we know of. Kizaru is easily the most terrifying admiral we know of.
Gotta agree with that. Hey, right off the bat, I had to stop that just because I wanted to let him say that, and just so I can agree with that. Kizaru, out of all the admirals, right? Out of all the admirals that we've seen, Kizaru is probably the only admiral that we haven't really seen go all out. You know, maybe you could say Fujitara as well. You know, because I think we could say Green Bull. Green Bull to a degree, because he did go against he was fighting against Momonosuke in I had to make sure. I changed my scenes and everything. He was fighting against Momonosuke and the Scabbards. I don't know if he was fully going all out, but I think he was putting in more effort than we've ever seen Kizaru put. And also Fujitaro kind of fought Dolphy in Law. Like, that was a bit of a fight. I wouldn't say Fujitaro was going fully all out, but you know, he did go all out. Akainu, we kind of see him with Whitebeard. Aokiji, we didn't really see. I mean, we kind of seen a little bit at Marineford, and then we know that he lost to Akainu. So at the very least, we could say Akainu is over Aokiji, and we seen Akainu go all out. Kizaru, to me, he's just he's too mysterious. Like, we haven't really seen him go all out, and he has a devil fruit ability that, if used to the fullest potential, could be probably the most terrifying ability in the series. The light. Because if you could travel at the speed of light, ain't not many people could touch you. And a lot of people like to decipher, a lot of people like to say, oh, well, he can't travel at the speed of light. Is it that he can't travel at the speed of light, or he just haven't really fully gone out to really show that he can? Like, when we see him like moving, is he just kind of like just lazying around and just kind of moving at like 50%, which is still faster than most characters? Or is there like an extra gear that he can kick into if he really wanted to? And that's what I believe. I believe that Kizaru has a gear that we have not seen yet, especially at utilizing his devil fruit ability.
Have eaten the glint glint fruit, making him a man of light, but in reality he's a shadow of nothingness. His unclear sense of justice makes him an absolute menace in the eyes of some. That, combined with Kizaru's confidence to dive headfirst in Wano, is gonna make him the most frightening and
oh yeah, and I didn't even consider his unclear justice, right? Like, with Akainu, we kind of know where Akainu stand on the justice scale. So we know what to expect from Akainu. We know what to expect from Aokiji, right? Kizaru, on the other hand, it's unclear, and sometimes the lack of knowledge, or the not knowing someone's true intent, right? The mystery is what scares people the most. Like, what's in space, the mystery of space, or the mystery of the ocean. You know, when you don't know something, it's scarier than something you know of that's bad, right? Like, we know tornadoes are bad, but tornadoes and hurricanes are bad, right? But we know what to expect from them. So we know how to deal with them and approach them, right? To a degree, we know how to approach them and how to handle them. But when there's a danger that you're not that's unclear to you, that's probably more scary than dangers that you are aware of and that you know of. Like, if there's a killer on the loose and you know what he looks like, you're like, okay, I know what he looks like. I know what to expect. I could call the cops when I see him, and I could run away. If there's a killer and you don't know what he looks like, it's a little different, right? It's a little different. Let's continue.
antagonist that Luffy faces on Egghead Island. But to understand why that's the case, we need to take a close look at Kizaru as a character. Now, he's one of the 3 OG admirals, being Akainu, Aokiji, and of course himself, Kizaru. You have a character like Akainu, which is somewhat like supreme justice. He's short-tempered, hot-headed. That's a great contrast from someone like Kizaru. And then you even have Aokiji, which is like lazy justice, where he'll get the job done, but not too efficiently. But then we have the spectacle Kizaru, where he's like the embodiment of unclear justice. It's hard to tell where he's coming from, where his ideals stand, because he's simply a robot. Kizaru is simply taking orders. It's hard to tell what he wants in life. But one thing I would love in life is for you to hit the like, subscribe, and notification bell. That way you never miss more videos like
Go subscribe to my man's Threevil. The link will be in the description box, so go show him some love. But yeah, and I think Kizaru is, when it comes to justice, I feel as though Kizaru doesn't really have any strong feelings either way. I kind of like what he said, he's a robot. I kind of believe Kizaru just follows orders. If something he's done, he does it, right? He's just loyal. He's just loyal to his leaders at the end of the day. I think he's loyal to the world government, and if whatever they need done, he does it. And you know, I've had this theory for the longest that Akainu, right? I know a lot of people don't really like this theory because they like to believe that Akainu is definitely going to always be antagonistic. But I've always kind of thought Akainu had the potential to possibly turn against the world government, right? Maybe be a part of Sword. We know he has a sword tattoo, but we've never seen him actually use a sword. So why does he have a sword tattoo? You know, why does he have a tattoo of a sword? I don't know. That doesn't necessarily mean he's part of Sword, but I can't think of any other reason why he would have a sword tattoo. Just saying. You know, there was a cover story where he had his shirt off and there was like a tattoo of a sword on his shoulder. But, so I kind of believe there's a possibility he is actually part of Sword and he could potentially go against the world government. And if that's the case, I could see Kizaru still being loyal to the world government. So Kizaru having to be the guy to dispatch of Akainu, right? And him actually being, look, a lot of people not going to agree with me. Y'all probably not going to even like what I got to say, because a lot of people like to believe that Kizaru is the weakest of the original 3 admirals. I personally believe that Kizaru is the strongest of the original 3 admirals, you know, me personally. And part of the reason why is because I think Oda has been saving Kizaru, right? He gave us some Akainu, he gave us some Aokiji, but we really don't got much of Kizaru. And again, I think Akainu could potentially flip sides. I'm not saying he's going to be friends with Luffy or anything, but I believe he could go against the world government at the very least. And I think Kizaru might end up, that the fact that Akainu betrays the world government, I believe Kizaru is going to have to betray Akainu and stay loyal to the world government. And Akainu's big fight could be against Kizaru, for what we know, you know, and Kizaru could potentially beat him. I'm just saying. Let me know in the comments what y'all think. I know most of y'all probably going to disagree with me. Hey, y'all leave that in the comments though. I'm fine with y'all not agreeing with me and y'all thinking whatever y'all want to think about me. Hey, and that might be a little bit of my Kizaru bias. I'm not gonna lie. That might be a little bit of my Kizaru bias, but it is what it is.
like this. But back to Kizaru, him having these hidden ideals, him just following orders blindly, that's what makes him so terrifying. If he's told to go kill someone, he'll go do it with no remorse or no second thought. Whereas the other admirals, other people, they might question it for a second. But Kizaru, he's just gonna go get it done with no questions asked.
Bro, come on now. How my man Kizaru shows up as Sabaody on that cannonball, that is one of my favorite entrances in the series. This man just shows up smooth, swagged out, and everything. That's part of the reason why I like Kizaru. He's just My man just got swag, man. He just looked like a pimp, and he curb stomped the supernova with the cleanest swag. I'm telling you.
Asked. Now this is purely intentional because Kizaru is an antagonist. He is an enemy to the Straw Hat Pirates. This character arc and this character role, this whole personality behind Kizaru is going to play a very interesting role here in the upcoming arc. Now up until now, Kizaru has played interesting roles here and there, such as Marineford, where he was basically one of the major antagonists that Luffy had to overcome. He was there when Luffy grabbed the wooden log, making one of the best moments in the entire story. Then you also have him shooting a light beam, destroying the key that's supposed to free Ace, almost like he's toying with his food. Sure, Kizaru has this unclear sense of justice, but at the same time, he almost seems like a sociopath, maybe even a psychopath. This guy expresses little to no emotion, and it's like he toys with his food with Luffy. He could have shot his laser beam, he could.
Bro, that is the perfect way to describe Kizaru. Kizaru toys with his food. And to me, that's why I rate Kizaru so high, because everybody he comes across. And when I say everybody he comes across, I mean everybody he comes across. He never has a serious demeanor. I don't care if Rayleigh he wasn't serious. I don't believe, y'all can say what you want. He was not serious with Rayleigh. He was not serious with Rayleigh. He was not serious with Ben Beckman. He was not serious with Whitebeard. He was not serious with anybody. He was toying with every person he came across. You know, Rayleigh, and when his fight with Rayleigh, I don't believe his intentions was to fight Rayleigh. It was to follow his orders and to destroy the Straw Hat Pirates. It's just Rayleigh was in his way. And it was like, do I just try to get past Rayleigh, or do I have to really go all out against somebody I wasn't really ordered to fight? So the fact he wasn't ordered to fight Rayleigh, I don't think he was intending to try to defeat Rayleigh or kill Rayleigh. He was just trying to move on and get past Rayleigh, but Rayleigh was just an obstacle. So, you know, and even if he, you know, when he was fighting the Straw Hats, he was toying with him. Like when he could have killed Zoro, bro. He was standing there about to curb stomp Zoro for like a long ass time. He could have killed him immediately, but he didn't. He was just playing with Zoro, and then Rayleigh shows up. You know, it's like he was toying with Zoro. He wanted Zoro to feel like despair or something, you know.
Could have killed Luffy multiple times throughout the story, but instead he decides to just toy with his food and just make Luffy work extra harder to achieve his goal. But furthermore, Kizaru also played an important role during the Sabaody arc, where he was pretty much the major antagonist there. Sure, you had pacifistas and you had someone like Kuma, but it was mostly Kizaru that was a hindrance to Luffy and the Straw Hat Pirates. As a Marine Admiral, Kizaru arrived on that island looking to capture pirates. That's his job. And it's even said that he caught at least 500 of them. All of the worst generation, all the supernovas, they were there at that time, again making one of the best moments in the story have something to do with Kizaru. Now he did have his moments with the Straw Hats, but I really need to highlight his antithesis, Dark King Rayleigh. Now this is something purely intentional by Oda to draw a narrative beauty. You have this light man, this ray of light Kizaru, come across Dark King Rayleigh, his total antithesis. Now I believe we're going to see these types of things again in the future, so stay tuned. But as far as an antithesis goes, actually
Blackbeard, Fujitora, maybe he fights Fujitora. Maybe Kizaru fights Fujitora, because Fujitora is actually like Fujitora's Devil Fruit is actually a perfect counter to Kizaru's, because gravity does affect light, you know, especially if Fujitora could release enough gravity with the force of a black hole, because a black hole could actually absorb light, right? It could actually attract the black light, so it does affect light, you know what I'm saying? So I say, when we talking about his Kizaru's Devil Fruit, Fujitora and Blackbeard are the two natural enemies of Kizaru that can actually be like the perfect counters against Kizaru. Darkness and gravity, right? Because we seen Blackbeard and his Devil Fruit kind of acts. It kind of acts a bit like it has gravitational. It could actually suck in things too, so it could probably suck in light as well. So if anybody can be a perfect match against Kizaru, it would mostly be Fujitara and Blackbeard.
Use that moment in particular to predict that Shanks would appear in Wano, because it's very clear Oda likes to get opposites and pin them up against each other. Another example is Ace versus Blackbeard, the sun versus darkness. Now in the case for Shanks, the color red is a part of his whole identity. Red hair Shanks, red hair pirates, you know, his hair as a whole. It's very clear that Shanks, you know, he's the embodiment of the color red. Now interestingly enough, Green Bull, the color green, is on the opposite side of the color wheel from red. Then you also have Sabaody being spread into separate different islands, just like how.
Let me go back a little bit, because if you look right at the wheel, I mean, and again, I don't know where he got this from, this wheel, but let's just take it as it being fact. Kizaru being yellow, right, and then purple being Fujitara. Could we see Fujitara versus Kizaru? Hey, I would not doubt it.
Color green is on the opposite side of the color wheel from red. Then you also have Sabaody being spread into separate different islands, just like how Wano was spread into separate different regions, as well as a former Roger pirate saving the Straw Hat Cove from an admiral. There's all sorts of signs that I predicted coming, but I need you to keep this in mind. Oda likes to have the opposites of each other, the antithesis to each other, pit up against each other. Now another interesting moment at the Sabaody arc is we actually saw Kizaru's relationship with Sentomaru. Now Sentomaru is like this big...
That's his name, Sentomaru. I said Shootamaro. Sentomaru. I know it was something like that. I knew I was wrong, but I knew it was something like that. I just forgot. Sentomaru.
Guy, you know, he has the Wano bell and the tomes across his belly. But the point here is that Sentomaru had interesting dialogue for Kizaru. During this arc, Sentomaru called Kizaru uncle or boss. Now, I'm not sure if it was lost in like the translations, but this is a very great indicator showing that there's some kind of relationship between these two characters. Now, it could be something simple like they're both Marines and, you know, Kizaru is an admiral, but I think calling him boss or uncle is indicating there's something deeper to be revealed. Furthermore, during the Sabaody arc, it actually turns out that Sentomaru is the bodyguard of Vegapunk. Now that makes complete sense. Vegapunk's supposed to be a brainiac. He's supposed to be an asset for the Marines.
Oh, he is, right? I forgot Sentomaru was the bodyguard of Vegapunk. So that means we will probably see Sentomaru this arc as well. And if he's the bodyguard of Vegapunk, that would mean he's always with Vegapunk for the most part. Maybe not always. Maybe not always. I could be wrong. But if let's say for the most part he is mostly always with Vegapunk, I would think he's probably with Vegapunk right now. So when we seen Vegapunk last chapter, that could mean that wasn't the real Vegapunk, right? Because maybe I would think Sentomaru would have been with Vegapunk. Especially you got intruders on the island. Why wouldn't Sentomaru be there to make sure Vegapunk stays safe? You know, unless Vegapunk just went ahead, you know, so I don't know.
He's not supposed to be a fighter, whereas the admirals themselves, they're labeled as the strongest force of the Navy. Those are the fighters, that's the manpower. But again, Vegapunk is just a random scientist 500 years advanced who's supposed to be really smart. And I could also see a situation where Vegapunk is almost like Spandam, where they're like an older, fragile kind of guy, and CP9, which would be the Seraphims or SSG, is like the forefront, you know, his defense. But in reality, Vegapunk is just a small, simple guy, and then he has also people like Sentomaru or Lucci, you know, guarding him. Now this actually creates an inevitable connection between Kizaru and Vegapunk, because again we know that Sentomaru calls Kizaru uncle or boss, and then Sentomaru's also the bodyguard of Vegapunk. Not only that, but Kizaru is an admiral working for the Marines, whereas Vegapunk is a scientist working for the Marines. And something even deeper than that, the pacifistas have Kizaru.
I low-key seen somebody say that Kizaru is Vegapunk. I don't know if I believe that, but I know there's a theory out there. I'm gonna rewind it a little bit. But there's a theory out there to say Kizaru is Vegapunk.
the Marines. And something even deeper than that, the pacifistas have Kizaru's ray of light shooting out of their mouths. Vegapunk has used powers from Kizaru for weaponry for these robots, these automatas, these pacifistas. Now, knowing all this and understanding all this, I find it very exciting how the next arc of One Piece is Egghead Island. Now, it's said that this is the island, this is the home of Vegapunk, and it's 500 years advanced. Much like Karakuri Island, which is the home of Vegapunk, 500 years advanced, and also Snow Country. I find it interesting how similar Karakuri Island is to Egghead Island, and I believe that Oda is beautifully weaving Kizaru, Sentomaru, Vegapunk, and these snow islands together to give us an exciting arc I'm about to explain to you. So with Luffy pulling up to the island and this quote-unquote Vegapunk running outside, I believe Kizaru's arrival to Egghead Island is inevitable, it's undodgeable, it's going to happen. And this is because of stuff we already pre-established. Kizaru's connected to Sentomaru, Kizaru's connected to Vegapunk, and Luffy has a major target on his back. Luffy is now an emperor, he's now a Yonko with a huge bounty on his head, so I can see Kizaru showing up to protect this navy asset known as Vegapunk. And I also have clues, I also have evidence as to why this was already foreshadowed. Now, if you remember not too long ago, Kizaru actually asked Akainu if he could show up to Wano, and Akainu said no because they don't know about the forces out there such as the samurai that could pose a threat to the Marines. But seeing how
them samurai don't know the forces of what Kizaru is, boy, I tell you. But bro, I wouldn't mind seeing Kizaru though. I would not mind it. I would not mind it.
Egghead Island is the home of Vegapunk. Seeing how there's sword members and marine members all over the island, it wouldn't be a risk, it wouldn't be a threat for Kizaru to show up to the island to protect Vegapunk from these pirates. So now you can look at it in retrospect where Oda warned us Kizaru was going to make a move on Luffy, and now it's actually happening. Now if you apply the logic from Sabaody where Kizaru had an antithesis to stop him, I wonder who the antithesis this time would be. I don't think it'll be Rayleigh again. I feel like Rayleigh kind of played his role a lot, especially recently during the whole scuffle with Blackbeard and Boa. So in my heart of hearts, I kind of want to mark Rayleigh out. I think someone like the God of Darkness, Blackbeard, could actually be a great threat, could be a great option for this antithesis. Not too long ago, Blackbeard captured the Marine known as Kobe, so he could use someone like Lafitte to hypnotize Kobe into figuring out where Vegapunk is. This would be a massive W for Blackbeard to hold Kobe hostage and, extract information out of him to get all this weaponry from Vegapunk, especially seeing how Blackbeard had a glimpse at the Seraphim. So Blackbeard showing up to Egghead Island is definitely on the table, and this would be very interesting because now Blackbeard and Luffy will go face to face. I don't think the whole grand battle between them will take place on this island, so I could predict someone like Blackbeard again showing up to Egghead Island, capturing Vegapunk, and Luffy having to chase him. Blackbeard would stop on his home turf, Hachinosu Island, and that's where Luffy versus Blackbeard goes down. Or maybe none of that happens and it's simply Luffy versus Kizaru.
I just think Blackbeard and Luffy's gonna be more closer to Endgame, or at least at Laugh Tale. I'm not saying Laugh Tale is gonna be like the last arc, but I think Blackbeard and Luffy is like fighting for the One Piece. That's my thoughts on Blackbeard. I don't think it's gonna be Egghead Island. You know what I mean? And Kizaru. If Kizaru shows up, I don't think this is gonna be the last of Kizaru. Because again, I think there's gonna be a major split among the Marines, and I think Kizaru is going to have. I believe Kizaru is going to be there for that split. I believe that, but it does make sense for him to show up at Egghead Island, given his connection with Vegapunk, given his connection with Sentomaru, who's Vegapunk's bodyguard. Also, when we look at the fact that Kizaru probably does have a bone to pick with Luffy for escaping him twice, right? Luffy escaped Kizaru twice, and Kizaru was ordered to get Luffy, especially for punching the Celestial Dragon. I think Kizaru would be so like honed in on completing that task that he failed twice that he might show up. Let's say if Sutomaru was there, or Sentomaru was there, and he said, "Hey, Kizaru, the Straw Hats are here. Remember you got a bone to pick with them." Kizaru was like, "Bet, I'm on my way." You know what I'm saying? Like something along that line. So I can see it happening. You know what I'm saying? I don't think it's a stretch beyond. I don't think it's a stretch for it to happen. I also believe that Kizaru has something bigger planned. Like I think that I could see him again, Akainu maybe betraying the world government, Kizaru having to betray Akainu out of his allegiance to the world government. Something along that line I could see happening. Both could happen, or one could happen, or neither could happen as well. That's also a, like, it's one of them four options. Neither three of them could happen, but
finally gets to take on an admiral and show his worth in the world, show his true power. And maybe this is Luffy's way of getting revenge because of what happened at Sabaody way earlier in the story. Luffy's getting his get back on Kizaru and the pacifistas for separating his crew in the first place. Especially when you consider what happened in the Wano arc. Yeah, Kizaru was brave, he wanted to see Kaido, Luffy, and whoever, blah blah blah, but he wasn't the one that took down Kaido. 1v1, bet on Kaido. King of the Beasts, bet on Kaido. World's strongest creature, bet on Kaido. It was Luffy that took him down. And you could make excuses where Kaido was injured, he fought everyone, Luffy had to awaken. Whatever the case might be, it was still Luffy that took down this creature. It was still Luffy that beat the quote-unquote.
Yeah, Luffy did beat him. He did. But you can't just overlook all that other stuff. Kaido pretty much, Kaido ran a gauntlet. It's not like Luffy came in fresh, Kaido was fresh. Or it's not like it's not like Kaido was fresh, Luffy came in and beat him. You know what I'm saying? It's not like it was a clean 1v1, right? But yes, Luffy did take down Kaido. All in all, yes. Luffy defeated Kaido 1v1. It just wasn't without a bunch of asterisks behind it at the end of the day. You know what I'm saying? It has an asterisk. That victory that Luffy has over Kaido has an asterisk over it. You know what I'm saying? Because technically, if you want to be serious, Kaido beat Luffy like a bunch of times. In that final battle of them, he already beat him like twice. You know, Luffy had to be saved in one aspect. You know, in the other aspect, Luffy actually borderline died, but it was like he had to have a devil fruit awakening of the sun god Nika devil fruit, right? So Luffy needed a lot. Like, it wasn't just like Luffy beating Kaido. It was a lot behind that. It was a lot behind that. But yes, overall, yes, Luffy did beat Kaido.
Top one. And if we're being honest, I don't see Kizaru getting an easy free win on Kaido. That doesn't really make sense to me. So given the whole context of Luffy versus...
I definitely agree with that. I definitely agree. I don't see Kizaru just beating Kaido. Kizaru, yeah. I don't see Kizaru definitely beating Kaido 1v1. But I kind of think that's also what... that battle... The fact that Luffy had a questionable... Or the fact that Luffy had a victory over Kaido with an asterisk behind it, right? It wasn't just a clear, indecisive victory, right? Like Luffy had to be helped so much. He had to have a whole secret form of a devil fruit that is almost godlike, right? The fact that all that had to happen in order for Luffy to win, you know, it just shows that, like, now if he fought Kizaru, he would, he could get a clean victory over Kizaru, right? He would probably get a clean victory over Kizaru, but it would still be very challenging. Kizaru, I don't think could beat Kaido without it being the asterisk behind it either. You know what I'm saying? I don't think Kizaru could just get a clean victory over Kaido either. But, this would be a great time for Luffy to fight someone of note without having an asterisk behind the victory. Like, that's all I'm saying.
Versus Kaido, where Luffy quite literally died and he still managed to beat Kaido, I would have to put Luffy at least bare minimum equal to Kizaru, which then makes him a contender that makes a fair fight between Luffy and Kizaru. So with Luffy learning a mission, eternal destruction, Haki...
I agree with that.
Fusion and now Gear 5 being limited by freedom, there's no way that someone like Luffy can't keep up with an admiral. But in my heart of hearts, Luffy is beating Kizaru. Let Kizaru pull up on Luffy. Luffy's putting in the work. It's gonna happen. I'm not gonna.
I agree with that. I agree with that, and that's part of the reason why I don't want Kizaru to show up at Egghead Island, because I'm thinking like Luffy's beating Kaido at this point, right? And even though yes, it has an asterisk behind it, Luffy has become a big threat in the world now. Like Luffy has arrived. Yes, I do add that it was a asterisk behind beating Kaido, but nonetheless, he still beat Kaido. And Gear 5th Luffy is definitely a freaking problem. Like I think going against anybody in Gear 5th, I don't really see many people matching up with Gear 5th Luffy, and that's including Kizaru as well. You know what I'm saying? I think the only people who are going to be able to top Luffy or give Luffy a true challenge at this point in the series are going to have to be Blackbeard, especially multiple devil fruits. One of the devil fruits having the ability to negate devil fruit abilities. Blackbeard, possibly Eam, if we learn that Eam is indeed a powerful figure with that's very strong as well. So I think those are the only two. That's kind of why I don't see any reason for Kizaru to fight Luffy. You know what I mean? And as realistic as I believe that it can be for Kizaru to show up at Egghead Island, I just don't see him giving. I'm not saying I don't see him giving a challenge to Luffy, but I don't see him beating Luffy or being that much of a threat to Luffy, especially after Luffy defeated Kaido. You know, now if let's say Oda goes this route where Luffy doesn't know how to access Gear 5th easily, like he doesn't know how to, he just can't access it easily without damn near dying or whatever, then I could see Kizaru being somewhat of a challenge for Luffy, you know, like somewhat, you know. But I don't think Kizaru's final fight is with Luffy. I kind of believe his final fight could be somebody like Akainu, possibly for Fujitora, you know, another admiral, right? Like, because I believe that there is going to be a split within the world government and the Marines. We're going to have the Marines that are like trying to bring in some type of reform, you know, like sword, and then we're going to have the world government and all the Marines that are loyal to the world government. And I believe that Fujitora could potentially switch to the Marines that are like the sword. He could switch to the sword alliance, because from what we've seen of Fujitora, he seems like he has the potential to end up going against the world government, because, you know, from what he's seen in Dressrosa and him allowing Luffy to escape. So I can see Fujitora flipping. I could see Green Bull being loyal. Aokiji, even though Aokiji's not part of the Marines anymore, I could see him maybe coming back to the fold and joining the Sword Alliance. Akainu, the questionable one, I could see Akainu potentially being part of Sword, right? Especially with the tattoo. We've seen how he talks with the Gorosei. A lot of times they're fighting. They're butting heads because he doesn't like the fact that the world government are stepping on his toes and not allowing him to do his job. So I could see Akainu be like, you know what? I don't like how the world government is doing things. So I don't think they're true justice anymore, right? But Kizaru, I could see him still remaining loyal to the world government because he still sees them as his bosses. So, in a sense, I could see Kizaru going against either Fujitora or Akainu.
gonna lie, bro. Luffy's definitely top one. Keep it a secret. But regardless, Kizaru showing up to Egghead Island holds huge implications. Is Rayleigh gonna somehow make another return? Is Blackbeard gonna fight the Man of Light Kizaru again, kidnap Vegapunk and all types of other wild shit? Or is it Luffy that's gonna finally stand his ground, beat the hell out of an admiral, and really cement his place in the world? Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell for more videos like this. If you're interested in Vegapunk as to where he's from, how he works, why he's an alien scientist, and all types of wild shit, check the
Shout out to Threevil. I'm gonna make sure I like the man's. Make sure y'all go like, subscribe on his channel. The link will be in the description box. But yeah, again, I don't 100% think that Kizaru is showing up at Egghead Island, but I don't think it's a stretch either, right? Because he does have a connection with Kizaru. So, in a sense, it seems possible, right? The fact that Kizaru and Vegapunk have some connection. We got Sentomaru, who calls Kizaru his uncle. Now, that doesn't mean they're like related by blood, but maybe there's a closer connection with them two. Like maybe, you know, Kizaru has been like an uncle, or maybe it's just a level of respect. You know what I'm saying? It could be that as well, but to call somebody your uncle, you know, I mean, hey, it could be like a level of respect, but also a level of closeness, right? Like you could call somebody that who might have been in your life for a long time, but y'all don't have any blood ties. Like he could have been like a father figure to you, you know, you'll call him your uncle possibly, you know, like he's, you know, but you just don't call people uncle just because they're over you. You know what I'm saying? Like to call somebody your uncle, there has to be some level of closeness and respect there, right? So Sentomaru, who is Vegapunk's bodyguard, you know, that's a connection with Kizaru and Vegapunk. Also, the fact that the old pacifista were using Kizaru's light ability. Connection there. You know what I mean? So, I don't think it's a stretch that Kizaru could show up to Egghead Island. Now, I think there's bigger things in the fray for Kizaru, especially a possible split with the Marines. You know, I could see him being a part of that. You know what I mean? So maybe Kizaru can show up in Egghead Island, but not really have any interaction with the Straw Hats. Maybe he doesn't even know they're there. You know what I mean? Like say next chapter, right? Say we actually cut to the real Vegapunk, assuming that the Vegapunk that we seen in the last chapter isn't the real Vegapunk. You know, let's say we cut to the real Vegapunk and Kizaru is currently on the island and he's talking to Vegapunk and then he leaves. You know what I'm saying? Like it could be something simple as that, but I can see Kizaru and in that interaction we kind of learn the connection with Vegapunk and Kizaru, right? Like it could be something along the line as that. But then he leaves, so he doesn't really know that the Straw Hats are there. And then let's say he leaves, and by the time, like he eventually gets word that the Straw Hats were on the island while he was there, but by the time he goes back, it's too late. They done left. You know, it could be something along that line as well. You know, I believe like he could be there and have no interaction with the Straw Hats because he doesn't even know that they're there. You know what I'm saying? But if that's the fact, if that's the case, let's say he's talking to Vegapunk right now, I'm pretty sure Vegapunk is aware of the Straw Hats being on his island. You know, like he would have got some type of notification through his clone or his cyborg, right? That the Straw Hats are there. So he probably would know. And if he doesn't tell Kizaru, that would mean like, is he hiding something from Kizaru? Like, come to if we go that route, right? If we go that route, but I don't know. I am excited for the future of this Egghead arc, and I'm also excited for the potential future of Kizaru. Yeah, but yeah, that's all I got for the video. Make sure you guys hit that like button. Also subscribe, hit that bell for notifications. Comment down below. You know, what's your thoughts on Kizaru? Like, what do you think? Do you think we will see him in Egghead Island, or do you think he could potentially betray Akainu? Like, are you in agreement with me? Do you disagree? What do you think is the potential for Kizaru's story? Are you like me? Do you like Kizaru? Do you think Kizaru is much stronger than he leads on? Do you agree with me in that aspect, or do you think Kizaru is the weakest of the original three admirals? Let me know down in the comments. Also, make sure you follow me on Twitch so you can catch me live and you can engage with me in real time. Also, follow me on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and make sure you come join my community, be a part of the Discord. And also the link to the video we just reacted to will be in the description box with all the other stuff. So make sure you go show 3 with some love. Anyway, y'all, it's your boy Sean P, the Bluff God, and I'm out of here. Peace.